Imagine unlocking a hidden level in your own mind. What if you could tap into a reservoir of focus, concentration, and mental clarity that feels almost like a superpower? Our brains are incredible, intricate machines, constantly processing information and shaping our reality. But sometimes, they get a little cluttered. Distractions abound, thoughts race, and that crucial task feels miles away. What if there were simple, science-backed ways to cut through the noise, to harness the natural power of your brain and direct it with laser precision? This isn't about complex meditation or brain implants. It's about understanding how your mind works at a fundamental level and using that knowledge to your advantage. Get ready to discover how to unlock your brain's incredible potential for instant, unwavering focus. Have you ever wondered what goes on inside that amazing organ that allows you to think, feel, and experience the world? That intricate network of billions of nerve cells, the very seat of your consciousness, is what we're about to explore. From the fleeting thoughts that dance through your mind to the deep-seated memories that shape who you are, it's all thanks to the incredible power of the brain. We'll be diving into the fascinating world of how our minds work, demystifying the complex processes that govern our attention, our focus, and our ability to shape our own mental landscape. Prepare to unlock a deeper understanding of yourself and the extraordinary capabilities lying dormant within your very own head. Dr. Reed adjusted the projector, a subtle smile playing on her lips. The room was filled with an anticipatory hum, a collective curiosity about the inner workings of the mind. She had spent months refining her approach, translating complex neurological findings into accessible, actionable steps. Her aim wasn't just to inform, but to empower. She believed, with unwavering conviction, that understanding the brain's mechanisms offered a pathway to greater control and a more fulfilling mental existence. The slides flickered to life, ready to illustrate how individuals could actively participate in sculpting their own cognitive experiences, transforming the often elusive nature of focus into a cultivated skill. The human brain, at its core, is a magnificent biological machine designed for adaptation and learning. However, in our modern environment, the very mechanisms that allowed our ancestors to survive and thrive are now often exploited, leading to a pervasive sense of distraction. This isn't a failing of the individual, but rather a predictable outcome when complex cognitive systems are consistently bombarded with stimuli that trigger ancient alert mechanisms. Our attentional resources, though robust, are finite. When faced with an overwhelming influx of novel or potentially threatening information, which in today's world can range from social media notifications to constant news cycles, the brain's default response is to engage a broader, more generalized arousal state. This state is excellent for rapidly assessing a wide range of potential threats, but it is inherently detrimental to sustain deep concentration on a single task. Think of your attentional system like a spotlight. It can either cast a wide, diffuse beam, illuminating a broad area but with little detail, or it can be narrowed to a sharp, intense point, allowing for intricate observation of a specific object. The constant digital barrage we experience pushes our spotlight into that wide, diffuse mode. This constant scanning prevents the precise focus required for complex problem-solving, creative ideation, or even simply absorbing information deeply. The neurochemical underpinnings of this phenomenon involve the interplay of neurotransmitters like dopamine, which is released in anticipation of reward, and thus is heavily involved in the addictive loop of checking notifications, and norepinephrine, which is crucial for arousal and vigilance. An overabundance of stimuli hijacks these systems, keeping us in a perpetual state of mild alert, which paradoxically makes us less effective at handling critical, high-priority information when it truly arrives. The key insight here is that this attentional dilution is not a permanent state. Just as the brain can be trained to react to certain stimuli, it can also be trained to resist distraction and cultivate deeper focus. This involves understanding how to intentionally modulate the brain's internal environment. For example, engaging in activities that require sustained attention, even for short periods, begins to strengthen the neural pathways associated with focused cognition. This is analogous to building muscle. Consistent, targeted effort leads to increased capacity. Furthermore, by consciously managing external stimuli, creating environments conducive to concentration, we provide the brain with the necessary space to shift from that broad-spectrum alert mode back to a more targeted, efficient state of attention. This isn't about willpower alone, it's about strategically employing our understanding of neural plasticity. The brain's capacity for neuroplasticity means that our cognitive abilities are not fixed. We are not simply victims of our environment or our inherent predispositions. By understanding the biological mechanisms at play, we can actively influence the development and function of our own brains. This involves recognizing the patterns of distraction, understanding their neurological impact, and then implementing deliberate strategies to counteract them. It's a process of retraining the brain's automatic responses, shifting from a reactive mode to a more proactive and intentional mode of engagement with the world. The goal is to move from a state where external forces dictate our attention to one where we consciously direct our cognitive resources. We've explored how external stimuli can hijack our attentional systems, leading to widespread distraction. Now, let's delve into the internal mechanisms that either exacerbate or mitigate this effect. If you found this explanation helpful and are interested in learning practical techniques to regain control of your focus, please hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe for more insights into brain function and mental well-being. Share this with anyone you know who struggles with distraction. And most importantly, leave a comment below sharing your thoughts on this topic. What are your biggest distractions, and what have you tried to combat them? Your engagement helps us continue to bring valuable information to you. The observed patterns of attentional recalibration are not random. They suggest a fundamental mechanism by which the brain dynamically adjusts its sensory processing thresholds. When presented with a stimulus that demands significant cognitive resources, the distraction, in our previous discussion, the neural networks responsible for sustained focus undergo a demonstrable change in their operating parameters. This change is not merely a passive suppression of irrelevant input, but rather an active enhancement of resources allocated to the primary task. This adaptive response can be understood through the lens of predictive coding frameworks, which posit that the brain constantly generates predictions about incoming sensory data. When predictions are violated by unexpected stimuli, a prediction error signal is generated. In situations of high cognitive demand, the brain may learn to attenuate the processing of these prediction errors originating from irrelevant sources to maintain performance on the primary task. This process involves the interplay of several prefrontal cortex regions, particularly those associated with executive control. Studies utilizing functional magnetic resonance imaging, fMRI, have consistently shown increased activity in areas like the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, DLPFC, during tasks requiring intense focus and the ability to ignore distractions. The DLPFC is crucial for working memory, planning, and cognitive flexibility, all of which are taxed when resisting extraneous stimuli. This neural upregulation is not a static state. It is a dynamic process that can be modulated by factors such as stress, fatigue, and even the perceived importance of a task. For instance, research inspired by the work of neuroscientists like Michael Gazzaniga, particularly his investigations into the brain's integrative functions, highlights how different brain regions collaborate to manage complex cognitive operations. In this context, the executive control network acts as a conductor, orchestrating the flow of information and resources to maintain task adherence. Furthermore, the observed recalibration extends beyond mere sensory gating. It involves the modulation of attentional networks at multiple levels. The dorsal attention network, responsible for top-down control of attention, becomes more dominant, directing processing resources towards the target stimulus. Concurrently, the ventral attention network, which is more involved in detecting salient, potentially novel stimuli, often the source of distractions, is actively inhibited. This coordinated suppression and activation allows for a more efficient allocation of limited cognitive capacity. The efficacy of this recalibration can be trained. Techniques aimed at improving attentional control, such as mindfulness meditation, have been shown to enhance the functional connectivity within these attentional networks, leading to improved performance in distraction-rich environments. This suggests that the brain's ability to recalibrate its attentional state is not fixed, but is amenable to neuroplastic changes. The theoretical underpinnings for this dynamic recalibration can be further illuminated by considering the principles of reinforcement learning. When successful completion of a primary task is rewarded, either intrinsically or extrinsically, The neural pathways associated with focused attention and the suppression of distractions are strengthened. Conversely, repeated failures due to distractibility can lead to a downregulation of these pathways. Philosophers like Daniel Dennett, in his explorations of consciousness and attention, have grappled with the subjective experience of attentional control. While his work is often at a conceptual level, it prompts us to consider how these underlying neural mechanisms contribute to our felt sense of being able to focus or being overwhelmed by distractions. The consistent finding across neuroscientific research is that focused attention is an active, resource-demanding process that involves complex neural computations and adaptive strategies. The neural circuitry underpinning focused attention is characterized by the intricate interplay of distributed brain networks. Specifically, the dorsal attention network, comprising the intraparietal sulcus and the frontal eye fields, plays a pivotal role in the voluntary control of attention. This network is responsible for top-down attentional modulation, enabling individuals to deliberately direct their cognitive resources toward relevant stimuli while suppressing distractions. The engagement of this network is directly correlated with the effort exerted to maintain focus. When confronted with a barrage of sensory information, the brain must actively filter out irrelevant signals. This filtering process is not passive. It is an active selection mechanism mediated by inhibitory processes within the prefrontal cortex and other associative areas. The cognitive load associated with sustained focus can be quantified through various neurophysiological markers. For instance, increased theta, 4 to 8 Hz, and gamma, 30 to 100 Hz, band power in electroencephalographic, EEG, recordings have been consistently associated with attentional engagement and successful information processing during demanding tasks. Similarly, functional magnetic resonance imaging, fMRI, studies reveal heightened activation in prefrontal and parietal regions during periods of concentrated attention. These regions are heavily involved in executive functions, including working memory, cognitive flexibility, and conflict monitoring, all of which are critical for maintaining a coherent attentional state. The dynamic nature of these neural responses underscores the adaptive strategies the brain employs. When distractions arise, there is a rapid recruitment of these networks to re-establish focus. This involves not only reinforcing the target stimulus, but also actively inhibiting competing internal thoughts or external stimuli. The concept of attentional capacity, while often discussed, is grounded in these neurobiological realities. It represents the limited pool of cognitive resources available for processing information at any given time. When the demands placed upon the system exceed its capacity, performance deteriorates, leading to errors, reduced comprehension, and the subjective experience of being overwhelmed. This is not indicative of a failure of the system in an absolute sense, but rather a reflection of its finite computational power. The brain's ability to allocate these resources efficiently is a key determinant of cognitive performance across a wide range of tasks. This allocation is influenced by both internal factors, such as motivation and goal-directedness, and external factors, such as the salience and novelty of stimuli. Understanding the neural underpinnings of resource allocation provides a mechanistic explanation for why certain environments or tasks are more conducive to focus than others. Furthermore, the process of disengagement from a distractor and reorientation to the target is a critical component of attentional control. This involves a shift in neural activity, often mediated by the ventral attention network, which is more involved in bottom-up stimulus-driven capture of attention. While the dorsal network initiates and maintains focus, the ventral network detects salient novel stimuli that could potentially interrupt ongoing tasks. The interplay between these networks is crucial. The dorsal network attempts to suppress the influence of the ventral network when it detects irrelevant stimuli, thereby preventing them from hijacking attention. The efficiency of this suppression mechanism is a significant predictor of an individual's ability to remain focused in the face of disruptive inputs. The continuous negotiation between these networks is a hallmark of a functional attentional system. The internal dialogue, once a chaotic storm, began to coalesce. The initial surge of intrusive thoughts, triggered by the unexpected notification, had been met with a robust counter-response. The dorsal network, acting as a vigilant gatekeeper, had swiftly initiated its inhibitory protocols. It was not a passive yielding, but an active suppression, a forceful redirection of neural resources away from the fleeting distractions of the digital alert. This process, however, was not instantaneous. There was a brief, almost imperceptible lag as the ventral network, primarily responsible for detecting salience, flagged the notification as potentially important. This initial flagging, a reflex honed by years of evolutionary pressures to notice novelty and change, was the spark that threatened to derail concentration. However, the learned strategies for attentional control, reinforced through consistent practice, were now manifesting with greater efficacy. The dorsal network's ability to exert top-down control was proving to be the dominant force. It was as if a skilled conductor were stepping in to manage an orchestra where instruments were playing out of turn. The conductor, dorsal network, recognized the errant notes, irrelevant notification, and signaled to the musicians, neuronal pathways, to return to the intended symphony, primary task. This coordinated effort involved deactivating regions of the ventral network that were becoming overly engaged with the notification, effectively silencing the internal alarm it was attempting to sound. The neural pathways involved in working memory, responsible for holding and manipulating information relevant to the current task, were also actively involved. Instead of succumbing to the pull of the notification, these pathways were strengthened. The information associated with the ongoing task was held more firmly, making it less susceptible to external interference. This strengthening was not a static event but a dynamic process, a continuous reinforcement of a task-relevant neural representations. The brain was actively working to maintain the integrity of the mental workspace, ensuring that the primary objective remained accessible and prioritized. This successful navigation of distraction was a direct consequence of the refined interplay between the dorsal and ventral networks. The ventral network's initial detection of a stimulus was not ignored, but was instead rapidly evaluated for its relevance to the ongoing cognitive goals. When deemed irrelevant, the dorsal network's inhibitory signal was deployed with precision, overriding the ventral network's tendency to draw attention towards novelty. This delicate balance, the ability to detect potential distractions without being consumed by them, is the bedrock of sustained focus and efficient cognitive processing. The continuous practice of mindful attention had, in essence, retrained these neural circuits, enhancing their capacity for self-regulation and resilience against disruptive influences. The internal environment was now characterized by a clear, unwavering focus on the task at hand, the external digital noise successfully relegated to the periphery of awareness. We've journeyed through the intricate ways our minds adapt and evolve through consistent practice. As we've seen, the deliberate cultivation of focused attention acts like a potent sculptor, reshaping the very architecture of our brains. This isn't a passive transformation. It's an active engagement that strengthens the pathways responsible for sustained concentration and emotional equilibrium. By consistently choosing to direct our mental energy, we've effectively built a more robust internal landscape, one that can gracefully navigate the complexities of our digital world without being overwhelmed. The constant influx of external stimuli, once a formidable challenge, is now managed with a newfound clarity, allowing for deeper engagement with our chosen pursuits. This enhanced self-regulation is the bedrock upon which greater productivity and well-being are built. The journey we've undertaken highlights a profound truth. Our brains are remarkably adaptable. Through dedicated practice, we can indeed foster a more resilient and focused mind, capable of thriving amidst distractions. This is the power of consciously directing our attention, a skill that pays dividends across all facets of life. If you found this exploration insightful, please consider giving this video a like. Your subscription to the channel ensures you won't miss future dives into understanding ourselves better. Sharing this with someone who might benefit is a wonderful way to spread the knowledge, and we'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. What resonated most with you? Until next time,